Flags are flying at half-staff in memory of Senator Howard Baker, who died yesterday at the age of 88. Baker, originally from Scott County, Tennessee, was well loved in Tennessee because he was relatable. There's one Chattanoogan who knew Senator Baker better than most.
Tom Griscom was Senator Baker's press secretary and right-hand man when the senator became President Reagan's chief of staff. News Channel 9's Kim Chapman joins us now with Tom Griscom, who has an interesting perspective of Senator Baker. Kim.
Josh, Latricia, thank you very much. Of course, everybody in town knows you, but all that you've done with Senator Baker and the newspaper, but you really have an interesting perspective on Senator Baker because of all that work that you did with him from his press secretary and then through the Reagan administration. Share a couple stories with us.
Well, I brought a picture today, Kim, to sort of
nice.
work with. And this is inside the old Air Force One. It's now at the Reagan Library. And this was the plane trip going to Berlin, when President Reagan, delivered the lines about tearing down the Berlin Wall. And, and I think a lot of people have this sense, or don't have a real good sense of what goes on when you're inside that plane. It's bigger now because they've got a bigger airplane. But the notion of flying in Air Force One, I told somebody, what you really would like to have people do is go and interview the airplane. And let the airplane tell you where it's been and all the people that are here and the things that went on, the decisions that were made. But the opportunity to go in the White House, I worked for Senator Baker in 1980 when he ran for president. And it was one of the short, everybody said, well, if you played Trivial Pursuit, you might find that he'd run. And we never thought we'd get there. But when President Reagan reached out to him, I have to tell you, it was the hardest job I've ever had.
Really?
But also, I think, the one where hopefully we made the most impact. Because we brought everybody back together one more time. And Senator Baker came in. I think it's fair to say he sort of righted the ship there in the last 2 years of the Reagan administration.
And everybody loved him because he was more of just a regular guy than he was a politician. And I think that's, what we found here in Chattanooga. Of course, he went to McCallie, so, there's a special place in the hearts of people here for the senator.
Well, and Senator Baker, Huntsville, Tennessee, Scott County, he called it the center of the universe.
Right.
And he meant it. There's so many people today that they get elected and they leave home. They never come back. Or they live in Washington and, they might visit here and there. He never moved out of Tennessee. And there's one quick story I'll tell you. He loved Crystal hamburgers.
Yes.
And so we were coming back home one night. We claimed that we froze the first Crystal hamburgers, not Crystal itself, because we had somebody, one of his law partners, stop at the Crystal there on Cumberland Avenue in Knoxville and order 100 hamburgers and one big orange drink. And of course, you can imagine the person sitting there. So we got him, and we sat here. Here was Senator Baker, the majority leader, and I was there with him, his staff guy, and we're putting 3 Crystal hamburgers, these little baggies, all night long. Now, I'll have to tell you, because they weren't air sealed, later in the, in February, March, places like this, when we went to put them in the microwave, the buns were a little tough, but we did do it first.
Not quite as good.
That's right.
What if you were to, well, no, I'm going to go ahead and ask this question anyway. It's my understanding that you accompanied the senator to an Indy 500 race.
That is true.
And what did you learn from that?
I'm not sure where you heard this story, but Senator Baker, he described himself, he says, I'm a full-time photographer and a part-time politician. And when I first knew that there were some health issues, Senator Baker always had a little Leica camera in his pocket. And it was no longer there. And so that, I knew then that was a real beginning. But we went to the Indy 500 because he'd never been there. And he was going to take these great photos. And so we're in the infield area as these cars are going around and all this. It gets halfway through the race. It's a great race. Senator Baker walks over and says, time to go. And I said, Senator, the race is still going on. He says, I'm done. It's time to go back to Huntsville. And so here we go. All these people are looking at us, and we're just waddling out, getting on the airplane. We go back home. And he said, I wasn't there for the race. I was there to watch this go on. And he had beautiful pictures. It's sort of like we went to a football game at the University of Tennessee. And he's on the sideline at Neyland Stadium. And Senator Baker, I said, had the best pictures of football players bent over. Because when the action would start, he'd go running the other way because he's afraid they would come and take him out.
Good stories. Thank you, Tom, so much for being with us. And we'll talk to you a little bit later on and have more from you tonight on News Channel 9 at 11.
Thanks
again. We appreciate it. Josh, Latricia, back to you guys.